Project 17 is a fan-driven project inspired to recreate iconic experiences from Valve Software's Half-Life 2, rebuilt for VR. We're committed to bringing fans an immersive experience while providing the community with VR-ready assets for independent use. Announced today, Project 17 will be developing their first major release, a remake of Point Insertion, the first opening chapter for Half-Life 2. I have had the opportunity to talk to the Project 17 team and discuss many of the different challenges and hurdles, as well as the different things that us as the community can expect from the project over the next few years. Project 17 Point Insertion is a collaborative effort between the Project 17 team and the Half-Life 2 Remade Assets team, the latter being a public community project to remake the major assets from Half-Life 2, formulating itself around the Half-Life Alyx themes and styles.
Limited time warning. Limited time warning.
I am offering this beautiful mask. Doesn't it look beautiful? Don't you want this mask too? Well, okay. First of all, make sure you have Counter-Strike Source installed and mounted and restart Gary's mod. But check out this mask. It's only available for 2 weeks. So check it out down in the description below on my CrowdMade page, or it should just be under this video, and you have 2 weeks to get it. Again, make sure you have Counter-Strike Source installed and mounted, restart Gary's mod, otherwise it's gonna look super weird. Look at this, it's so beautiful! According to the frequently asked questions section on the website for Project 17, question: are you remaking Half-Life 2? Answer, quote, no. We believe the Half-Life Alyx modding scene is still in its infancy. As of now, there are many tools that the community does not have access to that would be required to create a truly faithful recreation of Half-Life 2 that is enjoyable for the player. Question: if you aren't recreating Half-Life 2, then what are you recreating? Answer, quote, Project 17 at this stage is committed to recreating the Point Insertion chapter of Half-Life 2, while periodically releasing assets to the community for use in third-party maps and mods in collaboration with the Half-Life 2 Remade Assets team. Question: when will Project 17 release? Answer, quote, when it's ready. Unfortunately, the Half-Life Alyx modding tools, something that was announced alongside the game back in November, have not been supported to the level that anyone in the community was expecting. As of now, we have decent tools to be able to create custom levels within the themes and styles of Half-Life Alyx, and using mostly Half-Life Alyx assets. One of the major hurdles that the Project 17 team is going to face is facial animations, because as of now, there is no official face poser software. However, Valve ended up making the facial animations of Half-Life Alyx for people like Olga, Eli, and Russell is not possible with the tools that the community currently has. And this Point Insertion remake is actually going to include parts of Red Letter Day, the ending of the first release of this project being the teleportation sequence in Dr. Kleiner's lab. The entire Kleiner's lab set piece would be almost impossible to recreate faithfully, or at least to the level that Valve had created their own assets in Half-Life Alyx without any kind of official tools to be able to animate custom NPCs with facial flexes and animations. So with that said, the Project 17 team is reaching out to the community in order to find a stopgap solution and possibly beg Valve for the opportunity to use the same software to be able to create facial animations for custom NPCs. Their goal is to recreate the entirety of Point Insertion, itself being one of the most difficult things to possibly remake from Half-Life 2. And if they want to do it faithfully, then they're going to need some kind of toolset to be able to create the 100 or so NPCs that the character will be able to interact with while exploring City 17 after arriving on the train. I also had the opportunity to interview the Project 17 and Half-Life 2 Remade Assets team, while also being supplied with some exclusive assets and videos directly from the team's work. So while I'm answering these questions, I will be showing off some of the assets that were provided to me. First question: is this just the opening part? Quote, Project 17's scope spans from the beginning of Half-Life 2, being the G-Man sequence, ending with the teleportation sequence inside Kleiner's lab. Question 2: will the Project 17 team expand into the rest of the game over time? Will the project release each chapter in order? Quote, at this time, our project has no plans to expand past Point Insertion. Question 3: what is keeping the team from attempting to remake the game besides time? Quote, the biggest hurdle that stands in the way of remaking Half-Life 2 in its entirety is the lack of certain official tools, for example, Face Poser and shader graph editors come to mind. Question 4: how much of this is remade? Just the assets? everything? Quote, the goal that Project 17 was started in mind was to recreate point insertion ready for the current generation VR with as few compromises to that vision as possible. To that end, everything we're creating is from the ground up, from the mesh work to the assets themselves. While we're using the Half-Life Alyx assets where they're appropriate, we expect them to be sparse in the finished product. Question 5. Will any of the voice work be replaced? Quote, there are currently no plans to replace or re-record voice lines for any major characters. However, we are aware of our options if original voice recordings are deemed to be too low quality for an immersive VR experience. Question 6. Will this be a gameplay remake or just a sightseeing tour? Will the interactive elements be retained and brought into VR? Quote, Project 17 is intended to be a gameplay remake rather than a tour. You can expect to see the same interactive elements from Half-Life 2 updated to a VR standard alongside new environmental interactions. Question 7. Will this attempt to adhere to the style of City 17 be shown in Half-Life Alyx or Half-Life 2's style? Quote, we take our inspiration for City 17 from the style of Half-Life 2 rather than Half-Life Alyx. Question 8. Does the team have an ETA? Quote, when it's ready. Question 9. How far along is the announced project percentage-wise? Quote, at this stage, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to apply a percentage to our progress on this project. We can safely say we're extremely early in development. Early enough that any percentage given would not hold any actual weight due to the nature of what tools are or are not available to the community at the time. Project 17 point insertion is a very exciting proposition, yet an inevitable one. Everyone expected someone to make a Black Mesa style remake of Half-Life 2 and the Half-Life Alyx engine, and in fact I expect every major Valve game to have some kind of community project to bring it into Half-Life Alyx. The question is, will any of these ever finish? And the obvious answer is no, probably not. Project 17's major hurdle here, and the only reason they're attempting to get attention by releasing the announcement trailer, is to let Valve know that the support that they have currently given the Half-Life Alyx workshop tools is not nearly enough for the community to create what is possible in the Half-Life Alyx engine. So much R&D time, effort, and resources could be wasted if Valve does not allow the community to use the engine they created to its full potential. And it looks like they likely won't be allowing the community that privilege. And that's a shame. You should let anyone at Valve know that the Half-Life Alyx workshop community deserves better tools and better workshop support than this. Its current implementation, both in-game and out-of-game, is laughable. If you want more information on Project 17, links to the trailer as well as all of their social media is down in the description below. And if you have any questions directly for me or you just want to chat, my DMs on Twitter are always open. It's at Valve News Network. My DMs on Discord are also always open if you're on our Discord server. Invite link to that down in the description below. If you want to watch videos early, get your name in the credits, and financially support this channel, which is a huge help if you want larger form projects, check out my Patreon page down in the description below, or you could just try and get some merch, also down in the description below. We have this really cool error mask, which is a limited time offer. We're only offering this for 2 weeks, so if you want to be able to mount CSS and make sure you see this properly, check it out down in the description below before 2 weeks is up. I also stream on Twitch every day I can, playing Half-Life Alyx, Team Fortress 2, Half-Life mods, Portal mods, and even Nintendo stuff, and I also have Nintendo News Network down in the description below. Anyways, I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Valve News Network. Have a good day. Adios.